Comic book characters have come to dominate our popular culture. Whether it be the Marvel superheroes that populate our silver screens, TVs, and computer monitors, or the various memes of Peanuts characters your mom reposts on Facebook, or the ever-inescapable presence of Garfield everywhere you turn, you'll be hard-pressed not to find a character that didn't get their start on the stage and screen, but in the comic book panel. With artists popping up everywhere and the popularity of graphic novels and manga greater than ever, those characters are growing more and more abundant. But today, I'd like to present you with an interesting case of metamorphosis. Not one in which a person awakens to discover that they've been transformed into a hideous creature. Sorry, Gregor Samsa. But one in which a relatively unknown comic book character becomes a video game legend. That's right, y'all. Today we're talking about the Son of Stone, the space-time warrior, the Dinosaur Hunter. We're talking about Turok. Before we talk about the game, I'd like to delve into the history of the character a little bit. You see, Turok, Son of Stone began as a comic book series published by Dell Comics in 1956. Began as a serial featuring Turok and his brother Andar, two Native Americans in pre-Columbian America, who find themselves in a lost valley of sorts, populated by all sorts of prehistoric beasts. Thus, Turok and Andar must stay alive while also trying to find a way home. I've read a few of the Turok Son of Stone comics, and they're okay. They're very typical 50s pulp comics, like Johnny Quest or Fantastic Stories. This series, unfortunately, would have no concrete finale, with Turok finding a way out only to go back for Andar, and the entire series starting over again. However, in the 1990s, Valiant Comics began to publish a revamped story for Turok and Andar, changing the setting from a lost valley to another dimension known as the Lost Lands, populated by all sorts of different creatures and where time does not move. In typical 1990s comic book fashion, the enemies here have been cranked up to 11. Turok and Andar fight against dinosaurs, demons, robots, aliens, even cybernetically enhanced dinosaurs known as bionosaurs. The new issues of Turok sold quite well, but in the shadows, a hungry video game company lay in wait. Acclaim Entertainment, a company founded by former Activision employees Greg Fishbach, Robert Holmes, and Jim Skoropowski, would buy Valiant Comics in 1994 for $65 million. Coincidentally, $1 for every year that the dinosaurs have been extinct. And in 1996, would commence work on a Turok Dinosaur Hunter video game in development for Nintendo's new console, the Nintendo 64. They would have their newly purchased game studio, Austin, Texas-based Iguana Entertainment, working on it. However, Acclaim would prove to be a somewhat shaky company. They reported great losses in their 1996 fiscal year, and considering what they would do in the future, I guess this was a sign of what was to come for the company. Thus, they were all banking on this brand new Turok first-person shooter to do really, really well. Luckily for them, it did. Turok Dinosaur Hunter released for the Nintendo 64 on March 4th, 1997. It would be one of the first first-person shooters exclusive to the new Nintendo console. But I have to say, the Nintendo 64 version of Turok, well, it sucks. It's really foggy, it lags at times, but the biggest one for me is the wonky controls. I don't know what they were smoking. Making you move with the C buttons, aim with the analog stick, jump with the R button, and cycle weapons with the A and B buttons. It's disgusting! For this reason, I cannot recommend playing it on the original Nintendo 64 or the Nintendo Switch Online version. You can play the original PC port of the game if you want less fog and a better version of the soundtrack, but a very low FMV. But luckily for everyone, God sent us Stephen Kick. Night Dive Studios' updated version of Turok Dinosaur Hunter is, in my opinion, the definitive way to play the game. It has modern controls, quality of life features, the option to add or remove fog, add or remove bloom, change water textures, choose which soundtrack you want. It's great! And it's still getting updates on it. That's why if you're going to be playing on the Switch, I'd recommend you shelling out the extra $20 to just buy the Night Dive version. Unless you like moving around using the C buttons. Gross. It's even on sale at the time of this recording for only $5. You have no excuse. Unless you live in the future, in which case, I'm sorry. This iteration of Turok changes the lore once again, changing Turok from a name to a title, with the main character of the game being a Native American man from the 1800s named Talset, tasked with protecting the barrier between the Lost Lands and Earth. In this case, a malevolent overlord called the Campaigner seizes control over the Lost Lands and plans to use a powerful weapon known as the Chronoscepter to destroy the barriers between the dimensions and rule over the universe. Thus, Talset, being the bearer of the title of Turok, must defeat the Campaigner to protect the Earth and the Lost Land. In terms of gameplay, Turok Dinosaur Hunter is very similar to other FPSs of its day, like Doom or Quake. There's a hub world where you'll go around to 8 different levels, shooting enemies, collecting keys, collecting pieces of the Chronoscepter, and occasionally fighting bosses. The enemies you'll face will range from dinosaurs, bugs, demons, aliens, soldiers, poachers, native tribesmen, robots, and more. You'll be taking out all of these baddies with a variety of weapons, from things like a bow and a knife, going all the way up to a miniature nuclear bomb launcher and the Chronoscepter, essentially Turok's version of the BFG. But Turok differentiates itself from these games in certain ways. For instance, there are some exploration elements where you'll find hidden areas with weapons or other materials. There's also a lot of platforming. You're going to be jumping, climbing, swimming, and leaping through much of these levels. There's even a live system, where if you lose all your lives, you will have to start the game over from your last save. Luckily for me, that never happened, because I'm a pro. Turok, for me, is the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups of video games. And I don't want to hear you in the comments saying that Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are gross, okay? I got my eye on you, you sick son of a bitch. It combines the platforming, exploration, and aesthetics of a game like Donkey Kong Country with the run-and-gun FPS elements of something like Doom. In fact, I'd like to say that Turok is probably my favorite boomer shooter, so much so that if I'm bored and I don't know what to play, I'll probably just end up booting up Turok. Hey Pronging, wanna play some Minecraft?
I don't think I want to.
Oh, okay, hey Hibby, wanna play some Marvel Rivals?
Nah, I'm not in the mood.
And maybe you folks would wanna play some Mario Party together.
Sorry, I really don't feel like it.
Ah, fuck it, I'm just gonna play Turok. One of the most striking differences between Turok and a lot of classic modern FPSs is that Turok is very green. And I mean that as a positive. I love the verdant fields, the treetop villages, the mossy Mayan temples, and the dank, dark caves that you explore throughout the game. There are very few games where I boot it up and I can smell the kind of environment I am in. Every time I boot up Turok, the scent of morning mist and vegetation floods my mind. It's a much more interesting and fresh setting for me than some space installation or the streets of LA at night. Additionally, the varied enemies and weapon types mix up the game in a way that doesn't feel so repetitive. Just when you're sick of shooting velociraptors and shirtless dudes, the game will throw aliens, robots, a machine gun mounted Dimetrodon, or a rocket launcher mounted Triceratops, just to mix things up. Finally, I gotta say, I really love the sound design in this game. From the shrieks of the dinosaurs to the melodramatic yells of the fallen humans, it's all very good stuff. Plus, the music of Turok, composed by Darren Mitchell, is really good as well. Originally, they had to compress and reduce the quality of the music to make it fit on a Nintendo 64 cartridge. Thus, I believe the PC version of the soundtrack is the superior version. Darren Mitchell even released his original version of the soundtrack, which is also really, really good. But I'll let you be the judge. Here's my favorite tune from Turok Dinosaur Hunter, Ancient City, to compare between all the different versions. Very atmospheric and tribal, but it's also bumping. I often find myself bobbing my head up and down when I listen to this soundtrack. In the end, Turok Dinosaur Hunter is a really fun FPS that takes you out of space and puts you on solid Earth. If you love classic FPS games, then I'd highly recommend giving it a try. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go hunt some dinosaurs.